Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and history enthusiasts of all ages, welcome back to Timeless Sagas. Today, we're venturing into the captivating and mysterious realm of myths and stories from around the world. But instead of focusing on what sets them apart, we'll be highlighting the striking similarities that bind them together, a phenomenon that suggests a shared human experience across time and space. So, buckle up and prepare to be amazed by the fascinating connections between the myths of various religious groups around the world. Now, you might be wondering, how could stories from different cultures and time periods share so many similarities? Well, my friends, that's exactly what we're here to find out. As we explore these myths, we'll discover that they offer profound insights into the human psyche and our collective consciousness. Whether it's tales of creation, floods, or the afterlife, these stories not only entertain but also serve as a mirror, reflecting our deepest desires and fears. Let's start with one of the most pervasive themes in mythology, the creation of the world. From the ancient Egyptians to the native peoples of North America, almost every culture has its own unique story of how the world came to be. But despite their differences, many of these creation myths share some striking similarities. For instance, the idea of the world emerging from darkness or chaos is a common thread in many creation stories. In the ancient Egyptian myth, the world was created when the god Atum emerged from the primordial waters of Nun and created the first gods. Similarly, in the Norse myth, the world was created from the void of Ginnungagap, where the icy realm of Niflheim and the fiery world of Muspelheim collided. And in the Hindu tradition, the universe was created from the cosmic ocean, with the god Brahma emerging from a lotus flower growing from the navel of the god Vishnu. Another recurring theme in creation myths is the idea of a cosmic egg or a primordial being giving birth to the world. The ancient Chinese myth, for example, tells of the giant Pang emerging from a cosmic egg, with the yin and yang elements within it. As Pang grew, the world grew with him, eventually forming the heavens and the earth. Similarly, in the African creation story of the Dogon people, the god Amma created the world from an egg, which he fertilized with his own seed. Now, let's move on to another popular mythological theme, the Great Flood. You've probably heard of the biblical story of Noah and his ark, but did you know that flood myths are found in cultures from all around the world? That's right. From ancient Mesopotamia to the indigenous Americas, stories of cataclysmic floods have been passed down through generations. In the ancient Sumerian myth of the Epic of Gilgamesh, the hero Utnapishtim is warned by the god Ea about an impending flood and builds a boat to save his family and animals. Sound familiar? It should, because it shares many similarities with the story of Noah. Similarly, in the Hindu myth of Manu, the god Vishnu warns the sage Manu of a great flood and instructs him to build a boat to save himself and the seeds of life. Even in the Americas, we find flood myths among indigenous peoples. The Hopi people of the southwestern United States tell of Spider-Woman, who instructed the people to build boats and seek refuge on the tops of high mountains to escape a great flood. And in Aztec mythology, the god Tlaloc flooded the world to cleanse it of the wickedness of humanity, sparing only a man named Coxcox and his wife, who repopulated the earth after the waters receded. But what about stories of the afterlife? Surely, the idea of what happens after death must be unique to each culture, right? Well, not exactly. While there are certainly differences in how various religious groups envision the afterlife, there are some intriguing similarities as well. Take, for example, the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Greeks. Both cultures believed in a complex and multi-layered afterlife that involved judgment and the potential for eternal reward or punishment. The ancient Egyptians believed that the heart of the deceased would be weighed against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the person would be granted eternal life in the field of reeds. However, if the heart was heavier, it would be devoured by the fearsome Ammit, resulting in eternal destruction. Likewise, the ancient Greeks believed that after death, the souls of the deceased would be judged by the god Hades and his judges in the underworld. Those deemed virtuous would be allowed to dwell in the Elysian fields, while the wicked would be condemned to the depths of Tartarus. And let's not forget the concept of reincarnation, which is shared by Hinduism and Buddhism, among other belief systems. Reincarnation is the idea that after death, the soul is reborn into a new body, and this cycle continues until the soul reaches a state of enlightenment or liberation. So, what does all this tell us about the human experience? Well, it seems that despite our many differences, we share a common curiosity about the world around us and the mysteries of life and death. Myths provide us with a way to explore these questions and find meaning in our existence. Perhaps it's the innate human desire to understand the world and our place in it that has led to the creation of these stories. Or maybe, as some scholars suggest, these similarities are evidence of a common mythological heritage passed down from our earliest ancestors. Whatever the case, the connections between the myths of different religious groups around the world remind us that we're all part of a larger human story, one that transcends time, space, and cultural boundaries. That's all for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this whirlwind tour of the similarities between myths told by religious groups around the world. So, the next time you hear a story from a different culture, remember that it might not be as different as you think. And as always, stay curious and keep exploring the timeless sagas that make up our shared human experience. Until next time, this is Timeless Sagas, signing off.